I'm going with the Oklahoma City Thunder for our next pick of who we're going to look at. Again, this team, the rebuild has gone, I would say, pretty smooth. You have some great point guard play and shooting guard play in both Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, I think, are your two head of the Snakes. You have Chet Holmgren, who's finally going to be healthy. He looked pretty good in the summer league. You have Cason Wallace, again, another guard that you got from Kentucky out of the draft. You have Jalen Williams, who actually had a killer rookie year. You have both Jalen Williams. Jalen, one of them being more of like the hustle guy that'll take a charge for you. Like he's like the one guy that's like, I think the only NBA player personally that I see that will take a charge and be okay with it.
Jalen Brunson is waving his hands emphatically at you, sir.
This team has. I think this team is fully ready to start going in to try to get to the play-in game. But I want to ask you guys, we've seen this team a little bit before now. This team was exciting before. Where do you have this team on our tier list here?
Yeah, I'd put them in league pass worthy. Like,
oh my gosh.
I want to say they're a playoff team for sure, but like, I think they'll be more fun than just winning a bunch of games, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a lot hinges on Chet, like a lot does. He's got to hold down their defense. If they're gonna play him at center, he's got to bang with dudes like AD, Jokic. Like I just don't. That's
Bernie. That laugh. That was the most. Bernie, I love you. That was the most childish laugh.
Oh my gosh.
That was amazing.
Yeah, a lot hinges on his shoulders, and I think he'll unlock a lot for them offensively, like being able to pick and pop.
Mm-hmm.
The self-creation really hasn't been there from what I've seen in summer league and whatnot, but he doesn't need to do that with people like Giddey creating shots for him, people like SGA. Just hit a couple shots and protect the rim. They'll be super fun to watch, and they'll compete. They'll compete and give teams hell, but I just don't really. I could see him as more like a playing team again.
I'll be honest with you guys. This is one of my hardest takes of this offseason predictions. This is a hard playoff lock for me, this team. I genuinely don't see a universe in which this team isn't in the playoffs this year. I think they're just going to keep getting better. But really, when it comes down to it, I just don't see many opportunities for a lot of these teams in the West to have as consistent of guard play as this team is going to have. Like on a night in, night out basis.
Yeah.
This team is going to have the best guards on the court in like 9 out of 10 games, right? And that is going to be strong for a lot of people's opinions, but say what you will. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, my deep running love of him has been well documented on this channel. I feel very vindicated. He was one of the 7 best players in the NBA last season. That's not changing anytime soon. He's still super young. He is one of the most guaranteed buckets in the whole league at this point. There's literally nothing you can do to stop Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He can score at every level of the court. He makes new levels. I mean, there's literally like places where he takes shots that you just don't see other guys even consider pulling up from. And that sounds weird because it's not necessarily a lot of threes, but it's just like how he gets to the rim. Like it's crazy what he's able to do with his pacing. He's kind of similar to Luka in that sense. Like he really dictates the pace of how the offense is playing around him, but specifically how the defenders have to match him is really like nobody's really figured it out. There's a reason he was scoring 30 points a game for most of last season. But I'll say this too, like, Bernie, you know this. I was not super high on Chet coming into the draft. I wasn't necessarily down on him. I just didn't think like there was not really a lot of convincing me that he was on the same level as Paolo. I still feel that way. But he's not going to get asked to do a ton other than just be like a consistent defender for this team. He's going to get shots, but it's not like the offense has much to do about Chet at this point in his career. So I don't know, man. I just think they're really, really good. And one thing, too, that gets underspoken about this team is they're really well coached. Mark Daigneault is a sneaky good coach. And
that's true.
One of the things about him that I think gets underrepresented is just like he's been their coach through this rebuild, but he is not a Scott Brown. Is that his name? The guy that was
Brett
the
Brown?
70s.
Scott
Brett
Brooks.
Brown.
Brett Brown.
No,
okay.
I was combining both of them. Terrible coaches, Scott Brooks and Brett Brown. He's not one of those guys. He actually coaches this team in a way that's kind of representative of like what the Spurs do, right? Like he's running sets and actually teaching these guys how to play winning basketball, even when they weren't good. So, I mean, that's why we've seen such like a high level growth from guys like Lou Dort, right? He's been there through all of it. And Lou Dort has gotten better every single season. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that. I can't remember what podcast that was, but somebody was talking about he's like one of the best defenders in the league, one of the guys they don't want to go up against the most. And it's just because he's absolutely built like a tank. But I mean, they all play so smart. Yeah, this team, they're a lock for me. Bernie, what do you think about OKC?
Yeah, I mean, I think this team, I want to put them in that spot, but I think I'm going to have to agree with Brad in terms of putting them in league pass worthy, just because I think with this team, I want to, go back to your analogy of a timeline. I think this team is still very young, even though, Shai Gilgeous is getting, I think he's going to be 26 this coming year, or maybe he's going to be 25, but he's a little bit older. But I think guys are still going to try to mesh well with each other. I mean, I know Chet missed a year, he's working on his game and stuff like that, but I just think it takes such a long time, or maybe not a long time, but it definitely takes a couple of years before guys are ready to go in the NBA. I mean, there's a reason why we rarely see rookies, and I mean rarely because I think it's only happened, I want to say maybe Tim Duncan was the last one where like you drafted him, then you're instantly going to the finals, or like you're instantly in playoff contention. And for his circumstance, it was just because the team was already stacked. They were just trying to tank for him. My opinion, by the way, not trying to say the ping pong balls are rigged or anything, but I think that's kind of what the case is here. Like I think Chet probably needs another year or two before he's finally fully ready to be like the unlocked offensive and defensive Chet that I think we all, well, at least I, and I'm not sure about you guys. I know Pete, I know you weren't high on him at the beginning, but I think for Chet, I think it's about, like we talked about, growing muscle on his body, making sure that he's good there. And so, I mean, I think this team is a play-in team. They have some really good pieces. They have some young guys. Jalen Williams is only going to get better. But I still think at the end of the day, this team is still growing with each other. And I think in next year, they should be a lock-in play-in, a playoff team.
I can get down with that. I think they have to address like their center thing, because you can't throw Chet out there for 82 games and say play center. Like that's just that's a lot to ask.
Unless you put Jalen Williams
his frame. But that's the thing. That's one of the reasons I still feel pretty strongly is like honestly, I don't think they're necessarily going to have to play him at the 5 all the time. Like
they should
maybe
hopefully.
I just don't think they're going to. Like they have Jalen Williams, the second Jalen Williams, right? He's honestly underrated. He's
solid. He's really solid.
He's much more skilled than people give him credit for. And really, if they didn't have a guy with the same exact name on their team who was significantly better than him, I think we'd feel differently about Jalen Williams the second. But also like, dude, I don't know, man. I just really think like they have so much like versatility defensively. I just can't help but think it's good. Even if Chet gets asked to play a lot of center for them, like their perimeter defense is going to be so stifling that it's going to really limit a lot of teams in the West. Like you're just going to have to either have a center who's going to be able to use and abuse Chet down low, or you're going to have to just figure it out some other way. Because even like guys like Kason Wallace, like he's going to be like a incredibly high level defender from the jump, right? Like I see a lot of Drew Holiday in Kason Wallace. Like that's a lot of their guys, man. They just I don't know. We haven't even talked about Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey just gets better every time you see him play too. I love this team. I'm abnormally high, which is funny because I absolutely hated at all the credit that Sam Presti got for a few years there, but I was wrong. I mean, he took the long route. They got here. It worked out.
Yeah, he did a good job.
He did. It was patience. I still will say, like, there's a few times like you're just holding on to picks for no reason, but I mean, it truly did work out for the most part. I mean, it's still wait and see with Chet, obviously, but I think we already know enough to know he's not garbage. He's definitely very skilled for his age.
At the least, he'll be a high-level rim protector, like at the bare minimum.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
Yeah. Which is kind of where I think everybody kind of had him at. It's just like we talked about, and then definitely don't have to get into it. Just offensively, can he be the production guy that, guys like Victor Wembanyama who are compared to him, is that going to happen? So
for sure.
Let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of the Oklahoma City Thunder? I think we all can agree, or, it's a 2-1 majority rule. We have them at league pass worthy. Sorry, Pete, you've been overruled.
It's all good.